12 o'clock. My name is Rob Cam from the Franchise Relationships Institute, and I'm delighted to be with you all today on this very special topic of digital marketing to boost franchisee sales and franchisee recruitment. We know this is an issue that's top of mind for many franchisors, and we are very fortunate today to have an expert on this area, one of Australia's leading experts in the space of digital marketing in the franchise community, so we can help get some answers and strategies so you can get the most out of your digital marketing. So let me welcome up to the speaker's chair and get started. Come on in, Matt. Matt Foreman, are you there?
Yeah, hi Rob. Hi everybody.
Hello, how are you? Matt is the Managing Director of Traffika, and as I said, one of our leading experts in the country in this particular space. So welcome along, Matt. Thanks for making the time to speak to us all on this topic today. Before I let you begin, Matt, just a quick thing for everyone on the webinar. We do encourage you to use your question box, which is in your control panel down to the side there of your screen. If you have a question that comes to mind throughout the presentation that you'd like to ask Matt, we encourage you to type it in as you go, and we'll cover those as we go through the presentation. We'll also have a few minutes at the end for a Q&A, so if there are any questions left over, we'll spend some time there to cover those off with Matt before we bid him farewell. So I know we have a lot to get through, but I do encourage you to stick around right to the end because Matt's got a free ebook for you all too, so I'll let you know how you can download that before the end of the webinar. So over to you now, Matt. I'll let you get the digital ball rolling.
Thank you, Rob, and so welcome everybody. So very excited today to share this information with you. A lot of the information I'm going to share is content that's in our recent ebook and just from the work we've done day to day with our franchisor clients around the industry in Australia. So let's just jump straight into it. So I think there's three real objectives for us today to cover off. One is which online channels are going to work best for different purposes for your marketing. And they're things such as brand marketing, franchisee recruitment, and your local area marketing. We're going to delve a little bit deeper into how to use digital for land and to drive franchisee sales, and also have a look at some case studies how some franchisors are looking at coordinating social media and using that to actually drive sales and improve the customer experience as well. And then finally, we'll wrap that up with a little bit of Q&A at the end, and feel free to pummel me with questions. And as Rob said as well, we want to make this conversational as much as we can. So if anyone does have any burning questions as we go, feel free to just pop them in your question box just in the bottom of the screen there as well. So why don't we start off with a question? So Rob, I've got a poll we'd like to start off with, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, let's launch the first poll and ask everyone out there this particular question. And here it is on the screen. So for everyone listening, what is the biggest challenge you face with digital marketing in your franchise? And there's 5 options there for you to select. One is finding new customers, recruiting new franchisees, control and visibility into franchisees' social media activity, prioritizing which parts of digital to focus on, or visibility into what customers are saying about us in social media. So select one of those, folks, and then click the submit button to get that through. We'd like to get a really good feel for everyone on the call today. What is your biggest challenge in digital marketing? I'll give you a few more seconds. We can see all the votes coming in. Thank you for jumping on there. We're going to close the poll off now in 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're done. Fantastic. 80% of you voted there. Let's have a look at those results, Matt.
Wow, that's fascinating. So 56% have said recruiting new franchisees is the biggest challenge, and then 21% have said prioritising which parts of digital to focus on. And I guess that's fairly consistent with the experience we've had with our clients and the research that we've done as well. So obviously today we're going to be covering off a very large part of today is about recruitment of franchisees. But also there's some tools and some thoughts and some processes there to help you understand how you can actually prioritise your digital marketing as well. So I think there's something in that for everyone, which is fantastic. So thank you for that, Rob. All right, so just to set the scene and put a bit of framework behind it, I guess at Traffika, the way we sort of look at franchise marketing is there's essentially 3 separate elements to it. So there's the first one is your franchise brand marketing. And that really is about building awareness and reputation for your business and for your brand. And traditionally that's been done with a lot of offline marketing. It's really about how to build that the positioning in your customer's mind. The second part there is franchisee recruitment and marketing to attract new franchisees. And the goal there really is to build a horde of really highly qualified, financially secure franchisees that are lining up just to buy into your system. The third area is local area marketing, and as you'd expect, that really is about increasing your local brand awareness, improving loyalty and retention with your franchisees, and also driving in-store revenue and sales as well. And then finally, I guess that sweet spot in the middle, and that's really where digital can play a really key role in uniting and unifying your efforts there and really amplifying your performance, good or otherwise, across all three of those elements. So today we're going to cover off a little bit about all three, but we'll certainly dive a lot deeper into number 2, franchisee recruitment, and also number 3, local area marketing as well. So, Rob, we just have another quick poll before we jump to the next thing. So would you mind just launching that next poll, please?
Sure. Here's another question to keep you all actively involved in this one. What is the biggest opportunity for digital to improve performance of your franchise? So focusing on those 3 areas that Matt just spoke about, choose one of those: brand marketing, franchisee recruitment, or local area marketing. So select one of those and click on the submit button. Well, we're getting the votes flooding in now, Matt. I think everyone's getting comfortable with the polling there. So while people are voting there, just a point for you too, Matt, a few people are saying they can't hear you loud enough. They're really trying to tap into what you're saying. So if you could speak a little bit louder for us or lean in, that would be great. We're closing the poll now in 3, 2, 1 seconds. Let's close that and have a look at the results.
Okay, wow. So 54% franchise recruitment, which is very similar to the previous slide. But 28% around brand marketing and 19% on local area marketing there as well. So, a fairly even spread, and I guess something that's not too surprising as well. So thank you for that, Rob. It's great. All right. So those of you that are familiar with marketing would be familiar with the marketing funnel, I guess, as it's referred to traditionally. And I guess the traditional marketing funnel was really moving people through a process, starting with a general broad awareness of the product or service or the need that they might have, moving them through to a stage where they're interested, you've created some desire, and finally they come out at the bottom of the funnel where they take an action, and that action typically is to transact in some kind of way. And that's been fairly consistent and fairly traditional marketing theory for a long time now. And what we've found, I guess, is as digital has came in and digital as a platform for connecting with customers has evolved, that's changed, and there's a new marketing normal, and it's no longer a funnel where you start at one end and you end at the other, but it's more a marketing circle where you start at the top, which is awareness, but then you move all the way through, and it's a never-ending self-perpetuating loop, so to speak. So I guess we see there's 6 areas to that. The first one is awareness, as we said before. The second is interest. The third is desire. The fourth is action. And really that action, as I said, is typically a transaction. So how do we actually monetize the effort and the relationship that we've gone to up until now? But then the fifth is loyalty, because there's no point acquiring new customers if we can't keep them. So how do we continue to build loyalty? And finally, loyalty leads through to recommendation. And with particularly social media now, and just the ubiquity of content on the internet and the ease of use that search engines sort of provide to actually discover and find a lot of that content, customers making recommendations then drive further awareness with their friends and colleagues and connections, which then continues to fuel that never-ending marketing loop. So we're seeing, franchisors that actually have an understanding of that, have an understanding that, the marketing process doesn't end when the transaction happens, but it actually is a continuing process that builds over time, of the ones that are certainly performing better. So what I'd like to do is sort of walk through, I guess, digital's role, and if we look at just brand marketing for the first section of it, and just have a look at different digital marketing channels. And I guess their role and where they sort of play into that marketing circle and how they can impact it. I mean, why we find this is important is it relates back to that first poll question that a number of people said they have problems prioritising which bits of digital to focus on and which bits of digital to do first. And this sort of planning framework really helps with that prioritisation because it's not possible, obviously, to do everything. But if you can sort of understand what your objectives are and at what stage of that purchase journey that you need to impact the most, it helps you identify which digital channels that you can start to apply your effort to. So if we just look at the first one there in the left-hand column, the first channel that we'll talk about is content marketing. And typically content marketing will affect, in the context of brand, the awareness and interest in your brand. And some of the ways you can use content to do that is you can use it to educate your target market, your prospective customers, entertain and engage with them with relevant and inspiring content. And that's one of the things that we really like to focus on and really encourage you to focus on is how do you actually create content that inspires. And it really inspires people to take action and do something. And it doesn't mean it inspires them to, quit their job and change their life, but it maybe it inspires them to want to share that piece of content through social media or click the like button on Facebook, just something that motivates them to do something with that content. And the other great way you can use content in your brand marketing is using it to build your email database, and that could be using it to capture people's email addresses to do a content download or differentiating between paid search engine marketing, if anyone's engaging in that, or organic search engine marketing. At the end of the day, it's really about creating a search experience. The end user, when you use Google as an end user, you really don't care if someone's paying to be there or not. Clearly, different people have different preferences for where they click on a search engine. But at the end of the day, it's really about helping the person that's typing something into the search engine find the most relevant information that will answer their question. So really what you need to think about here is focusing on different keywords for the intent of the person that's typing that search into Google and where they are in the purchase journey. So for example, say you're in fashion as an example, and you were looking at how do I sort of create interest around my product. It could be putting content around seasonal trends and fashion trends and those type of things that people might be typing into the search engines to help them sort of get a bit of a feel for what's new and trending and what's hot in fashion right now. The other area where search engines play a really big role is right at the bottom of that sort of marketing circle, which is the action stage, which is actually getting people to transact. And that's why Google has been so successful in the past because they do help businesses make a lot of money, because when people are ready to buy, typically they'll go to a search engine and type in a keyword that directs them to the place that they want to buy. Social media, as we said, we've seen that continue to rise. It's now mainstream. It's not really new anymore. We know that because of the dynamics within a franchise relationship and a franchise business, there can sometimes be a few more complexities with social media than a corporately controlled brand. However, there's some franchises that are doing some great work on social media, and I guess social media can work across the whole plane almost of that marketing circle, from awareness, interest, desire, but also fantastic for building loyalty and fostering recommendations as well. And content really is, we sort of say content's the fuel that will drive your social media engine, and that's so true. So how can you produce great content that people want to do something with in social media? And how can you get your customers to recommend and endorse you on social media so that their friends find out about it, and that creates that viral loop for your brand?
Matt, just a quick jump in there, just to give your voice a quick pause. We had a question just come in from Nathan asking, is what we're doing right now a good example of content marketing?
Absolutely correct, yes. So this is a great example of content marketing, yeah. Absolutely. I'd put this in, I mentioned about educate, so I'd definitely put this in the educate category of content marketing, but this is content marketing, yes.
So doing things like webinars and recorded things like you said could be easy things that we can use those platforms to raise that awareness and interest from our own client base or franchisees. Okay, great, thanks for that.
Absolutely, no problem. And just to close that off quickly, Rob, that does depend on who your target market is. Obviously the target market where this webinar is focused on is professional white-collar franchise executives and marketing people. So, if you were from a franchise that was trying to recruit, service, hospitality workers or potentially blue-collar workers, then maybe that webinar might not be the best choice. It's horses for courses.
Gotcha.
So
another quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to jump in. We're getting a few coming in now, which is great.
That's great.
Ian just wants to clarify. Do you include LinkedIn as social media?
Absolutely. So, in our experience, the main social platforms in Australia, Facebook by far and away the most dominant one. LinkedIn in a business-to-business context. We've very rarely seen it ever work in a business-to-consumer context. Twitter, Instagram, particularly for fashion, youth brands, and even some QSR, hospitality brands. Instagram is a really great platform as well. And then some of the more emergent ones that are sort of coming through, Pinterest, again, great for fashion and those type of visual products. And to a lesser extent, we've seen some brands starting to play around a little bit with Snapchat and some of those more emergent platforms as well, but they've got a very specific target audience in mind there. So, yeah,
great.
By
Thanks,
far
Matt.
and away, Facebook the dominant one from a B2C context at least anyway. Okay, thanks. So I'll just keep moving through because I'm conscious that we have a clock ticking from a time perspective. So look at online advertising, great for building awareness there, and you can do that in really rich and engaging ways with your customers or potential customers. Remarketing, if you're not familiar with the concept of remarketing, what that really is it's actually targeting people with advertising after they've been to your website on other websites that they go to. So for example, a customer might come through to your website, they have a bit of a look around at some information, and they're not ready to do anything, they're not ready to buy or make an inquiry yet, so they leave. But through a bit of tracking code that you can put on your website, you can then target them with ads about your brand, and as they travel around the internet on different websites, and even on Facebook as well, you can then put your ads in front of them. So it is a really effective way of targeting, I guess, what we sort of say, customers that are, or consumers that are already brand aware, and persuade them into taking the next step. Financial services is a great example of this. So people going through a credit application, so applying for a credit card, for example, and as they've sort of gone through, there's usually a number of multiple screens in the application process. So as they've gone through, they might actually quit the application process at the second or third screen of the form. So you're able to actually target them with advertising to get them to come back and complete that form, because they've already started it. Potentially they're really qualified prospect for your business. And the other great way to use remarketing is using it to continue to market to your existing customers and increase your loyalty and retention with them as well. And finally, email marketing. Email marketing has been around for a very long time, and it's certainly not glamorous or sexy like some of the more emergent type of channels are. However, it's still very effective, and for the most part, email is a very good one-to-one communication platform. So we like to sort of say, social media is a really good way to broadcast and have conversations in a one-to-many type of context, and email is really good to have those personalised type of conversations with your customers and prospective customers with as well. And obviously great for sending offers and driving behaviour around taking coupons or vouchers into store or transacting online or whatever the case may be there as well. Okay,
just
so
while we're on that, sorry, I'm going to jump. We've got some questions for you, Matt. Go back to that slide because there's quite a few that have come in there. Katrina just asked a quick question. What is QSR? We know that's quick service restaurants. That's a quick one there, what we're referring to there, Katrina. Greg wanted to know, what's the best, when you're talking about social media, what do you view as the best platform for franchise marketing?
Is that to recruit franchisees or for building brand awareness? I guess it depends on the role of what you're trying to achieve.
We'll get Greg to clarify. Recruiting, he's saying. He's just typed in. So recruiting, okay. Franchisee recruitment.
If I could hold that over, because I'm about to touch on that in the next slide, and I think we'll probably answer that question for you, Greg, in the next 1 or 2 slides. But if we don't, certainly mention that in the question box, and I'll definitely specifically give you the information you need if we haven't already covered that off. That's okay.
Great. Mark's got a question just when you on your channel there of online advertising.
Yes.
Why do you view that only appropriate for awareness? He made a comment, a lot of online advertising does feature products and prices and calls to action. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I guess the reason that we sort of put in there is, in our experience at least, if people are not aware of your brand already, and you're sort of putting in price-driven offers and products and things like that, the actual effectiveness of that online advertising, it's not very cost-effective. Where you would use that type of advertising, where you're putting specific products and price points and that type of information in front of people, is either in search marketing or on remarketing. And remarketing is very effective. So in a product context, if we could sort of talk about a physical product just quickly, if someone comes to a page on your website and they're looking at a specific product, let's say it's a specific credit card, if we use the financial example, but it could be anything, and you know based on the tracking code that's on your site that they've looked at a gold credit card, well then you can actually put ads on the internet that target them as they travel around the internet advertising your gold credit card. So that's where you start to blend the online advertising with some smarts around remarketing to actually make it a very cost-effective proposition. But typically, if you're using online advertising to target people that aren't aware of your business and you're trying to get them to transact, it typically doesn't work as cost-effectively as other channels we've seen in our experience. And that's not to say it would never work, but yes, that's the feedback we have. Yeah.
Great. We have a few more questions. We're going to hold them over so you can continue on, Matt, because I'm sure some of these will be answered shortly. So back to you.
All right, great. Love the questions, guys. Keep them coming through. All right, so franchisee recruitment. So we've seen, I think it was 58% was the stats that we looked at before of people on the webinar today are finding it a challenge with digital and franchise recruitment. And I guess one of the things that we've come across is sometimes people tend to look at digital as almost like a silver bullet with their franchise recruitment, and sometimes we'll get briefs come through and we'll have conversations around, I need to use the internet to generate more leads from franchisees, and that's certainly part of what it is. But the other point of it is, the purchase journey for someone to buy a franchise is a very considered process, and most people don't wake up in the morning and think I'm going to go buy a franchise today, and they jump on the internet and do a few searches and boom, there you go, they've made an inquiry and they're in your pipeline. They talk to their friends and their family. They're very indecisive about should I make the leap, should I not make the leap, can I work for myself? There's a lot of things going on in their mind in the background, and it involves lots of conversations and lots of touch points, both online and offline. So having an appreciation and understanding for that, and then understanding where digital can influence those conversations and in fact play a role, really is where you can use digital to the best advantage in your franchise recruitment. So again, if I just quickly run through, I guess, some of the opportunities and ways you can use different parts of digital to help with your franchise recruitment, and then I'm going to go into some specific excuse me, examples and tips of exactly what that looks like and how that works. So again, content marketing, using it for awareness and interest, and you can really use that to educate your potential franchisees about the benefits of self-employment and specific business opportunity and your specific business opportunity. So back to the example we touched on before around, is this webinar content marketing? Absolutely. If your target market for recruitment of franchisees are suitable, hold a webinar for franchisees. Hold a webinar around why you'd want to work for yourself, for example, and help them understand why they should make that leap from being employed to self-employment. And testimonials and case studies are a really effective way of generating that interest in your franchise as well. And nothing sells your franchise like an existing happy franchisee. That's the best advertisement for selling franchises, happy franchisees. So search engines, again, interest, desire, and action, and providing keyword optimized content to answer questions that people are having as they're doing their research around this. So I'm going to touch on this in a little bit more detail on the following slide. So I'll come back to and show you some specific examples of what I mean now around keywords optimized for where they're doing their research. Social media, so awareness, interest, desire, recommendation, excellent for building initial awareness and for also from social endorsements from friends. So if existing franchisees are happy and they can talk about that on social media or share that enthusiasm, then that's going to be a good thing to put into their network of friends and contacts. LinkedIn can provide very fertile grounds for prospecting in certain industries for franchisees, and also case studies and testimonials that can be easily shared through social media, again, are a really good way to promote that. So even if you've got case studies and testimonials and they live on your website, having social share buttons on your website where I can easily share that with my colleague or my partner or my friend or whoever I'm talking to and using as part of my support network in the decision-making process, making that easy for them to do is a good thing. Online advertising, again, good at the awareness stage and good at reaching potential franchisees as they're starting to, maybe thinking about, looking at opportunities or going into business for themselves or whatever it might be. Remarketing, again, great to retarget people who have maybe already been to your business opportunities or franchise opportunities pages on your website. They're interested in franchise opportunities because they've been to that page. So you can start to target them with some advertising around the internet that further just keeps reinforcing that, buy franchise, buy this coffee franchise, whatever the messaging is that you want to put in front of them. And finally, email marketing, and again, you can use that in conjunction with content marketing. So, for example, one of the things you might do is have an information kit that people could download, and a franchise information kit. So part of that process could be capturing their email address before they download the information kit. Now you've got them in your email database. You can then start to market with them, market to them via email, and just stay top of mind and continue to create desire and put a real content strategy around that email. Because what you might see is they download the information kit, but then they're still not sure. So if you're sending them emails that help with that, convincing them with testimonials and other documentation that helps support that decision-making process, then email is pretty powerful in that area as well.
Matt, this slide has prompted a lot of questions coming in, so let's just go back for a minute to have a look at that. Steve was just making the comment, I think it's a question too, Facebook, brilliant for promotion and leads for franchisees. Is it the right management and platform, do you think, depending on how it's utilised?
Depending on what the opportunity is. So, for business to consumer style franchises, because people are in that personal sort of context when they're in Facebook, great. And even in some instances B2B, because to be honest, even if you're buying a B2B franchise, you're most likely going to be using Facebook for your personal use anyway. So absolutely great spot to do it. Can be quite cost effective as well. It needs some thought that goes into it though, because you need to be careful that you're not interrupting their communication, their personal space by trying to push franchise business opportunity information in front of them when they're not there for that. But absolutely, it can be very effective.
Great, and I think he was agreeing with you there, saying if it's the right opportunity, the right platform of management, it can be great for those leads. Yeah. Vanessa's made a comment and asked a question as well. They're using SEM and remarketing in their recruitment strategy, and the new video-based remarketing seems to have a much quicker and higher level of interaction. Do you think this is because it's just new, or it's more interesting than static display ads?
Absolutely. I think there's two parts to that. One is it is new, and there's a lot of interaction where people are inquisitive and they're curious and they go, well, what's this all about? You know what I mean? So there is a level of curiosity that we'll typically see as these new ad formats are rolled out. They typically start off and they will perform a little bit stronger, then they'll sort of plateau off a little bit over time. People become a bit blind to it, and like with traditional internet banner ads, for example, the terminology that we use in the industry is banner blindness, because people have just conditioned themselves to switch off from seeing those ads, because that's not the content that they're focused on the page. But when there's new, richer formats, particularly video, then yeah, absolutely, it can be very effective.
Yeah, it sort of grabs your attention, doesn't it? And you want to
absolutely
find and learn more.
My personal belief is the video part of social media and the video phase of the internet is only really just starting now. There was a stat from Google that I saw the other day. I think it was about 15% of the traffic that goes around the internet is video based, and they're predicting that'll be 90% within the next 5 years.
Wow,
so,
that's big growth, isn't it?
That's
growth. Huge.
Well, here's a great example. This is video right now. Good example of using video in content marketing, for example.
And a couple of people just on the point of the video have been asking, is this being recorded? Can we get access to this afterwards so we can continue to tap into this content? Absolutely. So yes, we are recording the webinar, and it will be available on both the Franchise Relationships Institute website and Traffika's website for all of your clients too, Matt, a few days after today, so hang out for that one. A couple of questions have come in which I know you're going to cover shortly about advertising. So Andrew's very keen to find out a bit more about LinkedIn advertising, and Paul wants to know a bit more about online advertising with directory websites. But before we leave this slide, Fiona would like to know, particularly around social media, how do you develop content on social media platforms for potential franchisees without switching off the rest of your community?
Very, very good question. So I think I'm going to answer that with two parts. One is, the first part is trying to understand the context in which you're going to put that information in front of them. So if we're going to use Facebook, and just generically Facebook as an example, and we were thinking about it as we're just going to push content onto our Facebook page, and some of that content is going to be, here's a franchise business opportunity. You're going to have a whole mix of people. You're going to have your customers, your end customers seeing that, and you're going to have your potential franchisees seeing that. So sometimes you don't want that to happen. You don't quite have that level of targeting available with Facebook at the moment, where you can control to that level of granularity who sees what post. However, what you can do with Facebook is you can do what they call unpublished posts. What that means is you could put a post on your page, but it's not published, which means everyone doesn't see it, and then you can actually pay to actually only show that post to people that meet certain targeting criteria. So that might be people that have this type of job or work for this type of company, live in these type of locations, at this age, whatever the sort of persona and target market criteria is for your potential franchisees. You can sort of create that profile with Facebook and then only show that post to those people. However, you do have to pay Facebook every time someone clicks on that post or someone sees that post, depending on how you configure it. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it on Facebook, for example, is creating a custom tab on Facebook. So it's an actual, just a separate page within your Facebook profile where it's got information on your franchise business opportunity. And I'm going to go into that shortly, so I'll show you an example of that in a moment as well.
Yeah, let's get rolling on your tips, because I know you've got some 10 ways to use digital, so let's get rolling on those.
Get cracking. All right. So as you said, 10 ways for digital for franchise recruitment. So I've actually broken this up into 3 areas. So the first one is how you can use digital on your own website for franchisee recruitment. So let's get into that. So the first thing is provide a downloadable online information kit and capture the name and their email address to build an email database. So I touched on that on the previous slide. That's a great way to do it. So certainly if you've got a good high quality information kit, and I'm not talking about a one-page PDF that you make in Microsoft Word, I'm talking about something that's of substance and of value that actually answers your prospects' questions, and they're going to want to actually trade you their name and their email address in exchange for that information. So the next thing is you can create a conversion optimized landing page that's part of your overall franchisee recruitment, and you'll see on the screen here the image I've got from Aussie's recruitment page. And that's exactly what they've done. They've built a conversion optimized landing page. If you search for franchise business opportunities on Google, this is one of the pages that come up. And if you click on that link in Google, this is the page that you land on. So that's how they've done it there. Another pretty interesting thing there is creating online FAQs that answer questions and qualify prospects. And I think a common conversation that we have with our franchise clients at Traffika, when we get a brief of find me more leads for franchise recruitment through digital, we can do that, and we can do that well, but then the feedback becomes they're bad quality, they're rubbish leads, they're not qualified. And a lot of the time that's because you haven't qualified them out in that process of actually getting their information. So if I could give some feedback on the example I've got on the screen here, the Aussie example, is it's not really qualifying anyone. So I see that and I go, yeah, okay, I'd love for Aussie to help help find me a job in finance. That'd be great. I'd love a career as a franchise mortgage broker, or whatever the opportunity is. But it doesn't tell me what the minimum requirements are. I haven't qualified them out, so I'll just go and put my details in. So there'll be a lot of quality control and qualification that needs to happen through that process. So we found by actually putting that up front, and qualifying people with FAQs. And that can be things like minimum asset value, type of experience that you're looking for, minimum requirements, whatever it might be. Getting all that up front, it helps qualify those people out. And finally there, optimizing pages of content on your website with the right keywords when people are researching. So I'll use this example from Aussie. You can see on the screen at the top it says, how can Aussie help find the job in finance for you? Now if I dissect that headline a little bit, there's a really strong keyword in there which is job in finance. So a lot of people, and it's a highly searched term on Google, job in finance. So what Aussie are trying to do there is people are looking for a job in finance. Hopefully that page will come up or get discovered through the search engines, and then people go, well, maybe I don't want a job in finance. Maybe I should consider becoming a mortgage broker, and trying to push people into the funnel there. So I guess that's a really good example of how you can start to be creative with your copywriting, including keywords in different aspects of it as well. Rob, I'm going to go to the next page. Are there any questions on that before I move on?
Not on this particular page, on the website one, with a few people asking about social media, so I think that that's going to come up very soon.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll keep moving. So the next thing there is on other websites. So one thing you want to do is keep your listings up to date on franchise business websites and optimize with the right keywords. So similar to the example we just spoke about with Aussie, you can see the example we've got here. This is for Hudson's Coffee. It's on Which Franchise Australia's website, and you'll see there's a headline at the top which says Hudson's Coffee Franchise Australia. Now I know from the keyword research that Coffee Franchise Australia is a search term that a lot of people that are interested in buying a coffee franchise actually type in. So there's some pretty crafty copywriting, very good copywriting going on here to actually get the keyword into that page, so that if people type that into Google, then this page on this business directory actually stands a chance of getting to the top of Google and getting people to click on it and find Hudson's listing. So one of the action items I'd probably recommend is if you have got listings on all of the franchise business websites and directories, just go back and review them, make sure they're up to date and they've got the right information on there. But also just give some consideration to the type of words people would be using and how you could include that into the headline or the copy on the page as well. Another thing you want to do is review your Google Analytics or your website analytics to see which websites are actually referring people through to the franchise recruitment pages on your site. That'll give you a bit of a sense of the other websites that are sending traffic to you and how you can foster better relationships with them, and how potentially you can enter into more effective partnerships as well, which ones are doing a better job than others. And finally there you could write some blogs and do some content marketing on topics that are of potential interest to your potential franchisees as well. So they could be then, those blog posts could be posted on other websites, and that helps get your awareness up. It helps get you in front of audiences of other websites and helps sort of raise that awareness there. So for example, if it was an industry website, for example, you might write a topic around working for yourself in the coffee industry, for example, in the service industry. And that can be put onto an industry website, and that starts to build awareness there as well. Okay, so we'll move on to tip number 8. This is social media. So first thing, create a dedicated business opportunities tab on your company's LinkedIn page, and you can use LinkedIn advertising to promote it. So within LinkedIn, there's two types of profiles on LinkedIn. There's a user profile, which should be Matt Foreman as me, as the human Matt Foreman, and then there'd be a business page, which in my case would be Traffika, for example. Now on that business page, it's got different tabs, and one of those tabs you can create a business opportunities tab. So basically you can put all the information that you would have potentially on your website about franchise, your business opportunities for franchise and franchise recruitment, and then you can use advertising on LinkedIn to actually promote that and get people to click through to it. So the way that the advertising works on LinkedIn, and again this works very well in professional white-collar type sort of sectors, is you can target people based on their job. So I can target people that are interested in marketing, for example. You can target people based on their gender and their age. You can target people based on their location, and you can even target people based on the company that they work for. So if you want to get really specific, you could say, show this ad to all the people that work at this business in this job function in this role who are female between 35 and 55. Now, there might only be 5 people on the list, but if they're the 5 people you're looking for, then that's a really highly valuable list. The way the advertising works on LinkedIn is you either pay every time someone clicks on the ad, or you can actually pay every time someone gets displayed or shown the ad. We typically recommend our clients pay on a per-click basis because it can be a little bit more cost-effective. And typically we see those cost anywhere from sort of $3 to $6 or $7 per click, depending on the targeting criteria that you've got. So that is a very effective way to sort of combine some content on your LinkedIn page and some advertising on LinkedIn to get your information in front of the right potential franchisees. So we move on to number 9, which is the same but on Facebook. So creating a business opportunities tab on Facebook and using your Facebook advertising to promote it. So exactly as I've said there before, you can get very specific with your targeting on Facebook. You don't quite have that level of granularity around job function and company and those sort of targeting criteria. But with Facebook, the interest targeting is a little bit different. So you could say, show me people that are interested in fitness and health and nutrition, that are women aged 35 to 45. So there's a whole range of different types of interest-based targeting, targeting franchise opportunities too. And you'll see on the screen, I've got an example of Quick Copy's franchising opportunities tab on their Facebook page. Nice, simple little tab. It's got some information there. It's got links off to other pages that people can get more information from. It's got contact details there. And it's got the FAQ at the bottom, and it's also got their free information pack that you can download as well. So that sort of brings together a whole lot of those recommendations we've sort of made on the last couple of slides, and you can see how they sort of come to life in one place on a Facebook tab there. And finally, sorry, Rob.
I was just going to jump in on those last 2 points. We had a couple of questions which are relevant, Matt. I think we've answered Andrew's question there about LinkedIn advertising and your thoughts there that it is effective for franchisee recruitment when it's targeted and done well. We've got Joanne asking, with Facebook marketing, would you recommend to keep brand and recruitment separate, developing separate pages, or simply have that separate tab within the business page? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, without knowing all the background and detail, my instinct would say it's sometimes better to have one page and one presence for your brand, and then just have the separate tabs on there. What you find is if you start to split it out and you have lots of different profiles, people get confused as to which one they should follow and like, and then they don't know which one to choose, so they don't do any. Right. And the other thing is just from a technical perspective around how the algorithm on Facebook works and how it determines what content gets displayed to people on their newsfeed when they're using Facebook. If you can have a bigger audience concentrated on one page and one brand, it sort of works with the algorithm a little bit better. If you start to dilute that and have lots of pages for different topics, then that can sometimes be a little bit counterintuitive in some respects as well. There is examples where that's appropriate. I'm not really sure if it's a franchise e-recruitment though. I need to get into the specifics of it a bit more.
And just a comment for you, Matt, and a bit of thanks, I think, from Brooke. Brooke is from Quick Copy. She's on the call today and would like to thank you for showcasing best practice there in their Facebook and how they use that for digital marketing. So thanks, Brooke.
No worries. Okay, my pleasure. Okay, we'll cover off number 10. So capture video testimonials from happy franchisees, put them on your YouTube, and then share them on all your other all your other social media profiles. And on your website as well, so embed that YouTube video on your website. And back to the point we made before about video, it is a really powerful, engaging way to engage with your prospective audiences. So I would highly recommend that you consider video as part of that mix from a content perspective. As a bonus, just at the bottom, and I think we're going to put this in the chat window in your screen shortly as well, there's a link to an article that I've written around how to use LinkedIn for franchise recruitment. So that should give you some specific tips and some actual steps for how to go about using LinkedIn to recruit franchisees as well. So I think we'll drop that in that chat window shortly.
Yep, it's just there now for everyone. So in your chat box there, if you want to go to that article after the webinar, you'll see that link there now. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, great. All right, so Rob, was there anything else around franchisee recruitment? Because we're going to jump into local area marketing now.
No, not specifically. We've got a few other questions that I'm going to throw at you for the Q&A, but let's keep going. Yeah, let's keep moving. We're going well.
Okay, local area marketing. So where the rubber meets the road, as they say. So I think, the philosophy with this is like with most of your marketing, the simplest strategies are often the best. So there's no need to overcomplicate your local area marketing with digital. There's some certain best practice and tips that I'll provide what you can do to help make it more effective. But certainly keeping it simple is the best way, because you've got lots of different dimensions to your local area marketing. And when you add digital in the mix, not only have you got location and franchisee requirements and the dynamics of the relationship with individual franchisees at different local levels as well, but then you've got all the technical layer of what social networks do I use, or what emails how do I do my email, and how do I make Google AdWords work when I've got 10 franchisees all within one city, and they all want to come up to the top of Google when people are typing in, the city name for the product or service that we sell. So there's some interesting dynamics there. So we'll sort of walk through that now. So if I come back to that channel table that we looked at the start, this one is specifically for local area marketing. So we look at content, graded awareness, interest, desire, and recommendation. And just some opportunities around using local stories for your blog. We've seen that used very effectively to sort of surface up those good news local stories, and that can either be about the local franchisee or stuff that the franchisee is doing in the local community, or it can be about customers at the local, in your local stores and your local offices. Testimonials and case studies from local customers are fantastic as well, and really start to connect you at that grassroots level, at a community level locally. Search engines, interest, desire, and action. Where the search engines become quite interesting is where you could start to use location and append that to the products or services that you provide. So for example, if I'm selling business cards, for example, I could have a whole heap of search campaigns around business cards Sydney, business cards Melbourne, business cards Brisbane, and could potentially drill that down even deeper into certain suburbs. So it might be North Sydney or Ryde or whatever the location is as well. So that local keyword targeting is very effective. Where it becomes a little bit complicated sometimes, however, is, as I said, if you've got a lot of franchisees in a similar area, it's very hard to segment that out. So there's just some considerations to give to that. Keyword optimized content for your store location pages. This is very effective. If you haven't got this already, I highly recommend you look at it. So with your office or store location pages on your website, actually putting a bit of effort into building some unique content for each of those pages, so make them like a standalone, like a landing page almost on their own. Put some keywords in there, like I've mentioned in the previous point, so location optimized keywords, and you'll start to see that those pages will start to perform in Google and Yahoo and Bing when people are typing those local keywords in. Other thing you can do is set up your Google local business pages. That used to be called Google Maps or Google Places. Now it's called Google Plus Local Business. But it's the same thing. So then when people are typing in those local searches, your Google local page will appear. And also if people are on Google Maps, your Google local page and your Google presence will appear on Google Maps as well. There's a few little hairs on the Google local business page product, and the fact that it's free from Google, so it's unsupported by Google, which means there is some challenges sometimes with just getting it all to work exactly how you want it to work. But it's very effective, and Google's drive really is to provide people with the most relevant information when they're searching for something. So if Google deem your local business page to be the most relevant, then it's highly likely they'll show that. You'll get customers from it. And finally, there may be a local. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Matt, I've interrupted you mid-point there. I thought you were ready to go to the next one.
No, I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will jump in there. Mary's just come in with a question when you're talking about search engines and keywords. How do you know what makes a good keyword? Is there a way that they are developed, or you can find those for your particular business and market?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different approaches. We sort of say there's the top-down or the bottom-up. So the top-down is start with your customer, really understand who your customer or your prospective customer is, and this probably starts to shift into more of sort of the sort of content brand type marketing, where you're developing personas of your customer. So you really understand who that customer is, sort of questions they're trying to answer, the sort of problems they're trying to solve, So then you can actually start to think about, well, what are the words that they're going to be using if they're trying to solve this type of problem. And then there's free tools that Google offer, and there's other third-party tools that you can get as well. There's a Google keyword tool, which is free. If you just Google keyword tool, you'll find a link to that, where you can actually sort of start to type some topics in, and Google will recommend different words that people are using to find information on those topics. So that's the best place to start, yeah.
Thanks, Matt. I'll let you keep moving because we've got about 5 to 6 minutes left.
Okay, great. Local AdWords campaigns, great. If you can even look to implement click-to-call functionality in that, so people can actually call straight from their mobile phone if they're searching on their mobile and be connected straight through to a franchisee. So there's certainly some opportunity there to drive that local inquiry as well. Go to social media, a bit tongue-tied on that one. Graded awareness, interest, desire, and again, loyalty and recommendation. Depending on the dynamics of your franchise business, local social media can be very effective. I'm going to talk to that on the next slide, so I won't go into any more detail on that. Local content and reviews to your Google Plus local pages, which will help your search engine results, as well as help provide Google's social network, which is Google Plus, with the content that it needs. Grow the number of likes and check-ins on your local Facebook pages, which helps people find information when they're searching on Facebook using Facebook search, and helps your local pages and local brands get put into people's news feeds. And if you look at extending the post-purchase experience and connecting with local customers on those social media profiles. So a great example of this would be, we have a client who's in the health and beauty, so they're a day spa essentially. So they have a very, very effective strategy of connecting with their customers after they've had their spa treatment. They get their customers to like them on Facebook, and typically when they've finished their spa treatment, they're on a high and they're very happy, and they're happy to share about how awesomely relaxed and they feel and the experience that they've had, and then that then starts to perpetuate that viral loop, as we mentioned before, where their friends see it in Facebook and they become aware of that local business, and they make an inquiry, and it sort of goes from there. Online advertising, again, great for awareness, but you'd want to be targeting very much local messaging on local websites. And there's certainly websites, some of the media properties which have local community newspapers are a good example of that. There's other local directories and other websites that you can advertise on as well if you feel that's appropriate to build that local brand awareness. Remarketing, similar to what we spoke about before. If you know people have been to a specific franchise location page on your website, you can target them with ads that specifically reference that. So if I know someone's been to the Brisbane page on my website, I can have the word Brisbane in my advertising so that I'm very targeted to that person. And finally, email there is the last point, which is great at having local databases at a store level and using local offers and promotions and coupons to drive transactions and drive people into the local stores. Okay, so local social media. I'm going to quickly just cover off this. So there's two different types that we see as sort of corporate social media and local social media pages. So to define corporate, it's the main corporate brand profile. To define local, it's a profile that a franchisee would own and control or have influence over. There's certainly pros and cons for each, which I'm going to go through in a moment. But before I do that, I think we've just got a little poll, Rob. If we could just quickly throw that poll up. I can't hear you, Rob, if you're there still.
I'm sorry, might help if I unmute my mic. How's that? So two-part poll here, Matt, for everyone. What type of social media strategy does your franchise have? Corporate social media, local social media, both corporate and local, or no social media or not sure? So select one of those, folks. Jump on in there, select one of those options and click the submit button. We've got the votes flooding in, or there's going to be some interesting results to this one, Matt. We're going to close this poll off in 3, 2, 1. Okay, poll is closed. Let's have a look at the results.
Fantastic. So 38% corporate social media, 9% only local, and we've got 29% both corporate and local, and then another 27% they don't have social or they're not sure. So that's interesting. So there's about 9 and 20, 38% of the audience that actually have local social in their mix. That's really, really interesting. So, Rob, we've got a follow-up poll question. Do you mind throwing to that now?
Yes, so this is for those who indicated that you have social local social. Do you have visibility and control of your franchisees' pages? So you have no control of visibility, some control and visibility, or total control and visibility. So for those of you who indicated you have local social marketing, select one of those options now and click the submit button. We'd love to see your responses. They're coming in. And we'll give you a few more seconds to complete that. We'll close the poll now in 3, 2, 1, and let's have a look at those results.
Okay, well that's interesting. So 24% have no control and visibility, 35% have some control, and 41% have total control and visibility. Well, that's great. 41% is really good from a control and visibility perspective. Now that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing to have total control and visibility. It depends on your individual circumstance. But thanks for that, Rob. We'll close that off and we'll move on if that's okay. So we'll just sort of come back to the benefits of this. So if you look at your corporate pages there, so your corporate pages typically will have more people that follow it or like it or whatever the terminology is for the platform that you're on. So typically there might be hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of followers on those pages, which means they're seen by more people, there's more interaction on them, but from a percentage perspective, they're typically a lot less engaged. So because posts reach only about 5% of the fans, the total fans that you have on your page, or the total likes, and only a fraction of those actually engage because typically it's not highly relevant and it's just a little bit too far removed from what they're doing on that social platform, particularly Facebook. We see this happen a lot. Have a look at local pages. Typically have a lot less number of fans or likes. That might be hundreds or maybe the thousands. They're seen by a lot more people though because they're more relevant, which means they've got more reach. And because they're more relevant, more people interact with them. You've got greater engagement. So you can sort of see that sort of funnel diagram there is typically that you'll get more actual hard outcomes by having local social pages because it's more relevant than you will from having corporate pages. So they both have a role in social media, but one of the challenges with the local pages is, well, why would I want to have 100 or 500 Facebook pages? That seems like an absolute nightmare, and it would be an absolute nightmare if you didn't have the right tools and the right strategies to actually cope with it. There is examples, and I'm going to show some examples now, of how different franchise brands are actually doing this and managing this on scale and getting some great results. So the first one is, if you're there still, Brooke, this is another nice plug for Quick Copy. So they're Quick Copy's local social pages. So Quick Copy offer an opt-in program for their franchisees. It's provided by head office. So what head office offer is they offer the ability to help coordinate that for franchisees. They actually also provide content for the franchisees' pages. Now they use a tool called Here Is that allows them to actually publish that content onto those franchisee pages. And the content is a mix of relevant local information, offers and promotion. The content is also supplemented with broader brand content from head office and national promotions, and it's also got some great articles and blogs that actually drives people back to Quick Copy's main blog on their corporate website. So let's have a look at some of the examples of the sort of content that they're actually doing there. So this is an example where it's an engagement type thing, and this was from, I'm not sure if you're able to see this, it's pretty small on your screen. This is from Quick Copy North Ryde, so that local Quick Copy centre at North Ryde. So are you watching the Academy Awards today? Here's something you may not know about the envelopes. So again, it's tapping into something very topical, which was the Academy Awards, and linking that back to what Quick Copy do, which is obviously printing and helping businesses communicate with their customers through printed forms. So this is something that the Quick Copy head office was able to publish to all of the local Quick Copy Facebook pages, and they were able to do that in the same amount of time as they would just publish it to their main corporate page. And then if I go to another example here, again, this is one of the posts on the Quick Copy North Ryde page. Now, what do your promotional products say about you? Check this out. and then it's sending the Facebook user back to the Quick Copy website, to their main blog, to sort of walk them through an article and a bit of a Q&A quiz around selecting promotional products for their business. So, the franchisee at North Ryde didn't have to do anything for this. They're just part of the head office program that head office provides, but they're getting all of the benefit from it, and obviously there's a high level of engagement because those customers that are connected to that North Ryde page are more attuned to the content that's coming through because it's their local Quick Copy. So if I just flip to another example, so Ray White, real estate company Ray White. Now they have local agents and local offices that have social media, particularly on Facebook. So there is lots and lots, like thousands and thousands of Facebook pages within the Ray White network. Most of the offices, or a lot of the offices, have Facebook pages, and then agents within the offices also have their own local Facebook pages. So again, that was starting to get a bit out of hand and unwieldy. So Ray White are able to use software tools to be able to bring that together through an opt-in program, so the agents and offices can opt into it. Very similar, I guess, structure to the way that Quick Copy have done it for their franchisees as well. So it's all managed and coordinated at head office. There's content that's really designed to keep those local buyers and sellers engaged with their local agents. That's published from head office on behalf of the local agents into their social profiles. And what it does is it allows the local agents to spend more time doing what they're doing best, which is selling property. And I think that would be consistent for any franchise. You really want your franchisees out there dealing with customers. You don't want them stuck on Facebook or any other social media. And then content that they publish ranges from inspirational quotes and memes. There's some cute little viral video content, as well as information around property and information in their local areas as well. So it's a good broad mix of content and information. Here's an example just of a general announcement. So this was from Ray White Kiama, and it was just an announcement around the RBA's official interest rate. So you can see there, no real strong call to action. It's just a service they put through on behalf of the franchisees or the offices to their local Facebook audience. And then if we have a look at something a little bit more local, this is one of the Ray White offices on the Sunshine Coast in Maroochydore. And then just a bit of a shot from I think it must be the local property section of the local property magazine, and just some pictures of their staff at a barbecue. And again, it's just telling that local story. Down the bottom of that, you can see that it's been shared, and it's also got a number of likes. So because it's local and it's relevant, and people like seeing pictures themselves, people are engaging with that content as well. So they're just a few examples of how, I guess, different national sort of franchise brands are dealing with the concept and the topic of local social. So that's it from the content perspective today. Rob, I think you said there was a few more questions, so I might throw it back to you and see where we go from there.
Yes, and I'm also conscious of time, Matt. We have gone just over the hour that we have set for today's webinar. So with your permission, we're not going to get through all the questions I can see coming through on the screen. But would you be happy if, when we pass out your contact details in just a second, that people can email you and chat with you further for specific? Because some of these, I think, will take a few minutes to answer, talking about the use of social media and opinions on best approaches and so forth. So sorry we can't get to everyone's questions there today, particularly John and Emily and Brad and Mark, some fantastic questions coming through, but we'll give you Matt's contact details in just a moment. Before we give you the link to his the free book that we've been referring to, the Digital Franchise Marketing. But I'd like to thank you, Matt, just as we're wrapping up. Thank you for your time today and all that insight. I think you've posed more questions than we've got time to answer today, but it's certainly got everyone thinking about this very important topic that is top of mind in our franchise community. So thank you very much for that presentation. There's just a couple of things I want to mention with everyone before we leave you, and I've got the opportunity to chat with you. A couple of things that we've got coming up in the franchise community from Franchise Relationships is our Field Manager Bootcamp program. It's many of you maybe have attended our Field Manager Summits over the years, or our Field Manager Boot Camps. We've now got an advanced program. It's a brand new program which we're very excited about, which Greg Nathan, who many of you know, who our founder and leader of the team, will be facilitating, and we're in the final stages of putting that together. We're going to have some great leading experts like Mark Caro from marketing and financial joining us with a lot of research-driven content, lots of practical workshops, and we'll be holding those in Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney in May, all certified by the Franchise Council of Australia, which is great. So if you're in the Certified Franchise Executive Program, you'll earn 400 education credits for that program too. A lot more information on our website, and I'll be there to help you with any further questions you may have about that. Another program we have, which is just launched in the last few days, if I just go back a slide, is based on some research we've done and asking that question about franchised versus company-owned operations. So we're holding a half-day forum, also in Melbourne, Brisbane and Sydney, in fact the day before our advanced boot camps in May, and we'd love you to join us, all of those who are involved in we're having a mix and wondering what is the best approach here. So lots of discussions, some great case studies and some new strategies will come out in that morning. More information on our website about how to reserve your seat for that program too. And finally, I know many of you receive Greg Nathan's 2-minute tips regularly. Greg has taken the extra step of putting them all together in this fantastic book. So the book of tips, it came out just before the end of last year, and it's a fantastic gift idea for yourself and your management executives and those on your team, even your franchisees. So some really great insights and enlightening stories there of Greg's travel through the world and the life of franchising. It's available in both print and e-format. And at the end of this webinar, as you leave, there's an opportunity there for us, if you're not already getting Greg's tips, to just say yes, you'd like to get them as we send them out every other week or so. So finally, the tip book, or the book for Matt's digital franchise marketing, we're just going to poke that into the chat box now. This will also be in a follow-up message that you'll all receive tomorrow. So if you'd like to download that book, thank you, Matt, for sharing that with us. Once again, that focuses a lot of information in there about what Matt has focused on today and in this particular area of franchise marketing. And I think there's all the contact details for Matt too. So if you want to connect with him on Google+, subscribe to his blog or email him directly, there's the details there on the screen where you can do that and keep the conversation going, and all of those great questions that I know you keep flooding in with, and we just don't have the time to cover right now. And thank you very much. So as you complete the survey there on the screen, if you'd like to type in the question panel, any other thoughts or ideas of what you'd like to focus on, we'd like to focus on in future topics, or feedback on today's session, please let us know. We're always trying to provide something that's meaningful to the franchise community. So thank you for your time today. I bid you farewell, and we'll see you next time on a Franchise Relationships Institute webinar. Goodbye.